Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Of a law, having legal validity. Group of people willing to obey orders. A public force is necessary to give security to the rights of citizens. Physical energy or intensity. He hit with all the force he could muster. A put-out of a base runner who is required to run. The put-out is accomplished by holding the ball while touching the base to which the runner must advance before the runner reaches that base. The shortstop got the runner at second on a force. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. She forced him to take a job in the city. Force into or from an action or state, either physically or metaphorically. Urge or force, a person, to an action, constrain or motivate. Move with force. Impose urgently, importunately, or inexorably. She forced her diet fads on him. Squeeze like a wedge into a tight space. A unit that is part of some military service. He sent Caesar a force of 6,000 men. One possessing or exercising power or influence or authority. May the force be with you. An act of aggression, as one against a person who resists. He may accomplish by craft in the long run what he cannot do by force and violence in the short one. Take by force. A group of people having the power of effective action. He joined forces with a band of adventurers. A powerful effect or influence. The force of his eloquence easily persuaded them. Do forcibly, exert force. Don't force it. Physics, the influence that produces a change in a physical quantity. Force equals mass times acceleration. A phenomenon that follows and is caused by some previous phenomenon. The magnetic effect was greater when the rod was lengthwise. Of a law, having legal validity. The law is still in effect. Produce. The central meaning or theme of a speech or literary work. An outward appearance. She retained that bold effect in her reproductions of the original painting. Act so as to bring into existence. Effect a change. An impression, especially one that is artificial or contrived. He just did it for effect. A symptom caused by an illness or a drug. The effects of sleep loss. Group of people willing to obey orders. The department responsible for hiring and training and placing employees and for setting policies for personnel management. Physical energy or intensity. A government has not the vitality and forcefulness of a living man. Capability in terms of personnel and materiel that affect the capacity to fight a war. We faced an army of great strength. Physical energy or intensity. It was destroyed by the strength of the gale. The power to induce the taking of a course of action or the embracing of a point of view by means of argument or entreaty. The strength of his argument settled the matter. Permanence by virtue of the power to resist stress or force. The amount of energy transmitted, as by acoustic or electromagnetic radiation. They measured the station's signal strength. An asset of special worth or utility. Capacity to produce strong physiological or chemical effects. The strength of the drinks. The condition of financial success. The strength of the company's stock in recent weeks. The property of being physically or mentally strong. Fatigue sapped his strength. A put-out of a base runner who is required to run. The put-out is accomplished by holding the ball while touching the base to which the runner must advance before the runner reaches that base. Press, force, or thrust out of a small space. A put-out of a base runner who is required to run. The put-out is accomplished by holding the ball while touching the base to which the runner must advance before the runner reaches that base. Force to leave an office. Expel from one's property or force to move out by legal process. Force with the thumb. Force or drive out. Terminate the employment of. Discharge from an office or position. Cause to come out in a squirt. Emit or cause to move with force of effort. Force out the air. A put-out of a base runner who is required to run. The put-out is accomplished by holding the ball while touching the base to which the runner must advance before the runner reaches that base. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. Prolific United States writer, 1822 to 1909. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. United States astronomer who discovered that sunspots are associated with strong magnetic fields, 1868 to 1938. A soldier of the American Revolution who was hanged as a spy by the British. His last words were supposed to have been, "I only regret that I have but one life to give for my country," 1755 to 1776. Draw slowly or heavily. Exhibiting or restored to vigorous good health. Hale and hearty. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. The act of pressing, the exertion of pressure. He used pressure to stop the bleeding. The pressure exerted by the atmosphere. Exert pressure on someone through threats. The state of demanding notice or attention. The force applied to a unit area of surface, measured in pascals SI unit, or in dynes, CGS unit. The compressed gas exerts an increased pressure. The somatic sensation that results from applying force to an area of skin. The sensitivity of his skin to pressure and temperature was normal. A force that compels. The public brought pressure to bear on the government. An oppressive condition of physical or mental or social or economic distress. To compress with violence, out of natural shape or condition. Squeeze a lemon. An aggressive attempt to compel acquiescence by the concentration or manipulation of power. To cause to do through pressure or necessity, by physical, moral or intellectual means. He squeezed her for information. A twisting squeeze. A state in which there is a short supply of cash to lend to businesses and consumers and interest rates are high. A tight or amorous embrace. Squeeze like a wedge into a tight space. I squeezed myself into the corner. Squeeze or press together. The act of gripping and pressing firmly. He gave her cheek a playful squeeze. Hold someone tightly in your arms, usually with fondness. Obtain by coercion or intimidation. They squeezed money from the owner of the business by threatening him. Press or force. Squeeze tightly between the fingers. She squeezed the bottle. A situation in which increased costs cannot be passed on to the customer. Increased expenses put a squeeze on profits. Press firmly. He squeezed my hand. Slang. A person's girlfriend or boyfriend. She was his main squeeze. The act of forcing yourself, or being forced, into or through a restricted space. Getting through that small opening was a tight squeeze. Hitting a golf ball off of a tee with a driver. He sliced his drive out of bounds. The act of applying force to propel something. After reaching the desired velocity, the drive is cut off. A journey in a vehicle, usually an automobile. He took the family for a drive in his new car. Force into or from an action or state, either physically or metaphorically. He drives me mad. Have certain properties when driven. My new truck drives well. Move into a desired direction of discourse. A road leading up to a private house. They parked in the driveway. Cause to move back by force or influence. Strive and make an effort to reach a goal. A series of actions advancing a principle or tending toward a particular end. The team was ready for a drive toward the pennant. A wide scenic road planted with trees. The Riverside Drive offers many exciting scenic views. Travel or be transported in a vehicle. Proceed along in a vehicle. We drive the turnpike to work. A mechanism by which force or power is transmitted in a machine. A variable speed drive permitted operation through a range of speeds. A physiological state corresponding to a strong need or desire. Cause someone or something to move by driving. Cause to function by supplying the force or power for or by controlling. The amplifier drives the tube. Cause to move rapidly by striking or throwing with force. Drive the ball far out into the field. Compel somebody to do something, often against his own will or judgment. Computer science. A device that writes data onto or reads data from a storage medium. Excavate horizontally. Drive a tunnel. Hit very hard, as by swinging a bat horizontally. Drive a ball. Hunting. Chase from cover into more open ground. Drive the game. Hunting. Search for game. Drive the forest. Move by being propelled by a force. Operate or control a vehicle. Drive a car or bus. Push, propel, or press with force. Sports. A hard straight return, as in tennis or squash. Strike with a driver, as in teeing off. Drive a golf ball. The act of driving a herd of animals overland. The trait of being highly motivated. His drive and energy exhausted his coworkers. To compel or force or urge relentlessly or exert coercive pressure on, or motivate strongly. She is driven by her passion. Urge forward. Drive the cows into the barn. Work as a driver. He drives a bread truck. Force into or from an action or state, either physically or metaphorically. She rammed her mind into focus. The first sign of the zodiac which the sun enters at the vernal equinox. The sun is in this sign from about March 21st to April 19th. Crowd or pack to capacity. Undergo damage or destruction on impact. The most common computer memory which can be used by programs to perform necessary tasks while the computer is on. An integrated circuit memory chip allows information to be stored or accessed in any order, and all storage locations are equally accessible. Uncastrated adult male sheep. Astrology. A person who is born while the sun is in Aries. Strike or drive against with a heavy impact. Ram the gate with a sledgehammer. A tool for driving or forcing something by impact. Urge or force a person to an action, constrain or motivate. Cause to move forward with force. Press, drive, or impel someone to action or completion of an action. He pushed her to finish her doctorate. The act of applying force in order to move something away. He gave the door a hard push. Make strenuous pushing movements during birth to expel the baby. Now push hard, said the doctor to the woman. An electrical switch operated by pressing. The elevator was operated by push buttons. Move with force. He pushed the table into a corner. Strive and make an effort to reach a goal. We have to push a little to make the deadline. Make publicity for, try to sell, a product. The salesman is aggressively pushing the new computer model. Approach a certain age or speed. She is pushing 50. The force used in pushing. The push of the water on the walls of the tank. Exert oneself continuously, vigorously, or obtrusively to gain an end or engage in a crusade for a certain cause or person. Be an advocate for. The Liberal Party pushed for reforms. Enterprising or ambitious drive. An effort to advance. The army made a push toward the sea. Move strenuously and with effort. The crowd pushed forward. Press against forcefully without moving. She pushed against the wall with all her strength. Sell or promote the sale of illegal goods such as drugs. The guy hanging around the school is pushing drugs. The act of applying force to propel something. Push upward. The front of the trains that had collided head-on thrust up into the air. Penetrate or cut through with a sharp instrument. Make a thrusting forward movement. Impose urgently, importunately, or inexorably. A strong blow with a knife or other sharp-pointed instrument. Place or put with great energy. Thrust the money in the hands of the beggar. The force used in pushing. The thrust of the jet engines. Press or force. She thrust the letter into his hand. A sharp hand gesture, resembling a blow. He made a thrusting motion with his fist. Force, molten rock, into pre-existing rock. Push forcefully. He thrust his chin forward. Verbal criticism. He enlivened his editorials with barbed thrusts at politicians. A heel that is an extension of the sole of the shoe. A block of wood used to prevent the sliding or rolling of a heavy object. Put, fix, force, or implant. A large sandwich made of a long crusty roll split lengthwise and filled with meats and cheese, and tomato and onion and lettuce and condiments. Different names are used in different sections of the United States. Any shape that is triangular in cross-section. Squeeze like a wedge into a tight space. A diacritical mark, an inverted circumflex, placed above certain letters, such as the letter C, to indicate pronunciation. Golf, an iron with considerable loft and a broad sole. Something solid that is usable as an inclined plane, shaped like a V, that can be pushed between two things to separate them. A unit that is part of some military service. A unit that is part of some military service. A unit that is part of some military service. Energy made available by the flow of electric charge through a conductor. The power went out around midnight. Of a government or government official, holding an office means being in power. During his first year in power. A state powerful enough to influence events throughout the world. A mathematical notation indicating the number of times a quantity is multiplied by itself. A very wealthy or powerful businessman. Possession of the qualities, especially mental qualities, required to do something or get something done. Danger heightened his powers of discrimination. Possession of controlling influence. The deterrent power of nuclear weapons. One possessing or exercising power or influence or authority. The mysterious presence of an evil power. Physical strength. Physics. The rate of doing work, measured in watts, equals joule per second. Supply the force or power for the functioning of. The gasoline powers the engines. The property of being wild or turbulent. The storm's violence. An act of aggression, as one against a person who resists. He may accomplish by craft in the long run what he cannot do by force and violence in the short one. A turbulent state resulting in injuries and destruction, etc. Behave violently, as if in state of a great anger. Attack by storm. Attack suddenly. A violent commotion or disturbance. The storms that had characterized their relationship had died away. A violent weather condition with winds 64 to 72 knots, 11 on the Beaufort scale, and precipitation and thunder and lightning. Take by force. A direct and violent assault on a stronghold. Blow hard. It was storming all night. Rain, hail, or snow hard and be very windy, often with thunder or lightning. If it storms, we'll need shelter. Cause to move back by force or influence. The quality of being valid and rigorous. The quality of having legal force or effectiveness. The quality of having legal force or effectiveness. The persons, or committees or departments, etc., who make up a body for the purpose of administering something. An ordered manner. Orderliness by virtue of being methodical and well organized. His compulsive organization was not an endearing quality. The act of forming or establishing something. He still remembers the organization of the club. The activity or result of distributing or disposing persons or things properly or methodically. His organization of the workforce was very efficient. A group of people who work together. The act of organizing a business or an activity related to a business. He was brought in to supervise the organization of a new department. An organized structure for arranging or classifying. The facts were familiar, but it was in the organization of them that he was original. The persons, are committees or departments etc., who make up a body for the purpose of administering something. An ordered manner. Orderliness by virtue of being methodical and well organized. The act of forming or establishing something. The activity or result of distributing or disposing persons or things properly or methodically. A group of people who work together. The act of organizing a business or an activity related to a business. An organized structure for arranging or classifying. Chromatic purity. Freedom from dilution with white and hence vivid in hue. The amount of energy transmitted, as by acoustic or electromagnetic radiation. He adjusted the intensity of the sound. The magnitude of sound, usually in a specified direction. High level or degree, the property of being intense. High level or degree, the property of being intense.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.